This podcast is part of the Gonna Geek Network. The opinions expressed may not represent other podcasts or affiliates of Gonna Geek. Check out more podcasts at GonnaGeek.com and get ready because geekness starts in 3, 2, 1.
You have been granted clearance level 10. Stand by for S.H.I.E.L.D. debriefing. All information to be discussed here is classified and may only be discussed among agents of equal or higher security clearance.
Now it's time for your scheduled debriefing. I'm Agent Stargate Pioneer.
I'm Agent Haley.
And I'm Agent Rummy.
Rummy!
Thank you, Stargate Pioneer. What, did your hippie mom and dad name you? Hi, this is my son, Stargate. Here, have some alfalfa.
Well, if you knew my parents, you knew that that could be both nothing close to the truth and so close to the truth, too. Because
I can't wait for that reunion.
Because we definitely raised alfalfa on the farm. Anyway, welcome everybody to Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast. We're talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode Turn, 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 which is season 1, episode 17. What are we? We're a fan-based podcast on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And because it's so integral, as the latest movie just showed us, to the general Marvel universe, we do include that too. Just a reminder for everybody out there, we have a website, legendsofshield.com. You can go there, top right corner, and find all the great ways to contact us on Facebook, Twitter, email, what have you.
Smoke signals.
We'll take those too. Yep.
Carrier pigeon. Jinx.
What we also have is a phone number, so you can call us and give us a voicemail. It's 612-888-POD0 or 612-888-7690. How is your week going, guys?
Really, you had to ask.
Brr.
Are you excited to talk Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Oh, anything that's not what, like, the real work world would be great to talk about.
Well, we got some of that. Matter of fact, we got some feedback from people out there.
I'm excited. Feedback. That means somebody's actually listening to us.
Oh, that's terrifying, actually.
I have to remember to pay my next door neighbor, a couple other people that I've met along the way that I paid them to listen to us.
Paperboy, maybe?
Paperboy, yeah.
Jonolobster out there, our friend. He had a great theory. I think it was before our last podcast. We just couldn't slide it in. We went a little bit long. Anyway, he has a theory that the alien that was in the Tahiti facility is actually an Atlantean, and the GH325 is from them because they have inherent healing qualities.
That was a possibility. It was floating around the internet. Last I checked, though, Universal Studios had the rights to Namor. I'm not sure if they had all of the other Atlanteans as well, but setting up the Atlanteans in this universe would let them put Namor the Submariner on the Avengers team.
Well, the whole legal issue that's floating around, you saying that Universal has the rights to that, makes the storylines and everything that Marvel's trying to do so much more confusing. And we received a letter about that from Neil, right?
Yeah, it was a letter delivered by carrier pigeon. Actually, it was an email. Thank you very much for sending the email versus carrier pigeon. I wouldn't know how to care for a carrier pigeon. Anyway.
Well, there's a lot of crap you have to clean up.
I raised pigeons as a kid.
Oh.
I got this.
Awesome. Haley for the win again. There's so much awesomeness about Awesome Engineering Girl. Just got to learn it all. Anyway, thank you very much, Neil. On Twitter, your Neil Isn't Witty. And first off, you gave us some great speculation, or your thoughts, basically, on the whole, why isn't Stan Lee around? And I'm just going to read your paragraph verbatim. Okay. Before we get into thoughts and speculations, in your one-shot number 2 on PaleyFest, the question of giving more props to Stan Lee came up. Not sure if you're aware, but Stan Lee Media Inc., SLMI, has a history of trying to sue the pants off Marvel to get the rights to characters back. In fact, they're still in court over Spidey. The same goes for the estate of Jack Kirby. Standard operating procedure when somebody is suing you is to instruct anyone on the payroll not to talk about the other party. The worst thing any of the cast could do is say, quote unquote, we owe a great debt to, or quote unquote, Stan created and blah, 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 unquote. I love the blah, blah, blah. SLMI lawyers would be all over that.
Yeah, you don't want to get in litigations with anyone like that.
Well, last I heard, Stan Lee had sold his interest in Stan Lee Media. So Stan Lee Media is just a bunch of money-grubbing people who are out to get cash from Marvel in any way they can.
It's like when people don't own the rights to their own name anymore. What were you thinking?
Yeah, we're not quite sure. But yes, thank you very much, Neil. Appreciate the thoughts there. And we'll see how all this litigation actually comes out. He actually had two more thoughts, but we're going to leave one on the table for later when we discuss it during the podcast. But his next thought was exactly what Haley was talking about on the Captain America Zola character, right, Haley?
Right. He also agrees with me that Zola is probably the Clairvoyant. Neil said that he also thinks that Zola is the Clairvoyant. He thought that as soon as he saw Zola, which is also what I thought. He also says, I had a weird feeling Zola would be back, and showed my wife the face in the chest pics of him before going to the Winter Soldier. The face in the screen with a camera on top was a nice callback. And that's referring to in the comics, he makes a bunch of, like, androids, and he puts the brains in the chest, so they're less likely to get blown off.
Do you guys want to hear who I think the Clairvoyant really is?
Yeah, of course.
I think it's Ward. I have it in for him, but do you want to hear why?
You think he's a
Sure.
You think he's a what do you call it? A robot, a cyborg, or something?
No. I think he's a clairvoyant, and here's why. Because at the very end of this week's episode, the very last shot, like the scene in the plane happens, and he shoots Hand, and then they go to commercial, and they come back, and there's nothing new, but for some reason they decide to come back and show us him just staring down. She's dead. There's blood. It wasn't an icer. There's blood on her hand. So she's dead. He's looking down at her, and it's just one shot, and you could hear Bill Paxton in the background just talking.
Yeah, about the Skylight story.
Skylight story that I don't think is going to evolve into anything. And he's just listening to him, and he just starts zoning him out in a particular manner, like he's concentrating and changing his focus. There's just something very eerie about that one moment. And then it just goes to black.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that later. But I haven't heard that theory or thought about that before, so that's something to think about. Okay, and also, we have ratings for this week. Yay! Well,
A little bit of ratings.
yeah, bummer.
I would like to thank my aunt and the paperboy for tuning in.
We're not talking about our ratings, big guy.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
We're talking about the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. ratings. Oh, yeah.
It's all about me.
Will. Yeah, they had their lowest ratings ever for an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode, coming in under 5 at 4.91. Now, I've got a couple of thoughts about this. One is that it is actually what in the States would call spring break. So a lot of schools take this week off, and so a lot of people are traveling and whatever. So not a lot of people.
College students going to the beach and drinking.
Yeah, and apparently rioting in Monterey. But so there's a lot of that going on. And also there is the whole tie-in with Winter Soldier, and not everybody got to go see it last weekend like we did 2, 3, 4 times. So
Weirdos.
yes. So
No
I think
social life.
some people were waiting to see Captain America first before they re-engaged back with the show, and the ABC came out with they were going to re-air Turn next week right before the next episode, Providence. So do I still think it's going to bump up in ratings next week? Yes. But I sure hope it bumps up soon, because this is not promising at all.
Do either of you know if they've confirmed a second season for S.H.I.E.L.D. yet?
Not yet.
They haven't confirmed it, but it is on the pickup list.
That's
They
what I
feel
saw
like
too.
it is going to be coming back, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which I would I'd hate to not continue talking about this for a while, so.
We'll just rewatch it like a couple times a year, keep cranking out podcasts on the same episodes.
Yeah,
sure, because everyone's going to love to hear another podcast about the same episode over and over again.
Well, I'm sure there's Firefly podcasts that are still out there cranking out episodes.
Do you listen to them?
No.
I rest my case.
Well, you could pay your paper boy and your mom, right?
Right.
So, after Captain America, now, I watched this episode, what was it, at least 3 times. And once was on the treadmill. I watched it once for the ooh and ah factor. I watched it once on the treadmill, and I watched it one time taking notes. I got to say, it got better each time for me. What did you guys think?
I took 2 pages of notes.
3.
Mine were single space and typed.
Yeah.
Mine are scrawled across the page. Barely legible.
No, I loved it. Yeah, you're right. The more times I saw it, the more times I watched the show, the more I saw.
Yeah, this was a really good one.
It was. They're like giving you enough each episode and still leaving a lot on the table. We still don't know what Tahiti stands for. We still don't know who those people were. We still don't know what they actually put in Coulson's head. We don't know, well, kind of know, but why is Cole not forgiving May at all? I mean, heck, it's the apocalypse as far as S.H.I.E.L.D. is going. You got somebody that's been there, had your back the whole time, and you're just so paranoid you like break up the friendship over it. Whatever, Coulson.
No, I'm with Coulson on that, only because I could completely understand, because he trusted her and he found out she lied to him. And I'm that kind of a person where I could be your friend, but the moment I find out that you lie to me about something, we can still be friends, but I'm never going to trust you again. And because for his apocalyptic, where they live right now in their story and their world, I could see why he has major trust issues with her.
I could see why he has major trust issues with everyone at this point.
Yeah, he doesn't know what's in his own head.
Yeah, and especially when he found out that she's the one that put the whole team together, and she laid it out for him exactly how she put the team together, was a good reason for him to feel very self-conscious about being played.
Another scrolling list of stuff that was going on when Han and her team of trusted 5 agents were going through everything that Coulson did that actually made it seem like he was a Hydra agent. It was like, ew,
Yeah,
Right?
She said she trusts 7 people now. I don't believe she trusts 7 people on this planet.
Well, supposedly she's dead now, so...
Well, yeah.
Although I don't think she is, but we'll get to that later.
I don't know. He put 2 bullets in her and you saw the blood. Now, here's something interesting that I think that they did as far as production design, and yes, it's going to be the Will Hare report again, but I noticed it the second time I watched it, is I'm looking at, how they made her up in her hair. She's got those red locks, those red extensions in her hair that mix in with the brown hair, and then they curl the bottom. And visually speaking, it makes her look like the Hydra seal.
Yes, it does. And I just have to point out the Will Hare report.
I thought it made her look a lot like a comic book character.
Yeah, it did. But because of the fact that all of a sudden you have this dark hair and then these bright red streaks that go down and curl around, it was a visual red herring to
red hair
put
ink.
Hydra.
Knee slapper right there.
To put Hydra and plant that seed in the viewer's mind.
Yeah, well...
You see what I'm getting at?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, at the very first scene, Garrett's tooling along in his S.H.I.E.L.D. transport plane, Echo 3, and, he got a couple of drones coming up on him.
Oh, wait. No. But telegraphing ahead, the first thing you hear is Don't Fear the Reaper by Blue Oyster Cult, which I thought was hysterical. Because now you're thinking, okay, so who's the Reaper? Is it Bill Paxton? Is it Agent Garrett? Because he obviously doesn't fear himself, so...
Yeah, Bill Paxton has been involved in several series where the music is just right on target. No pun intended in this case. But, so he's flying around and these drones come up and he puts the coffee in the mug holder there. I noticed that. There was a mug holder to make sure it wouldn't spill or, whatever. And so he gets shot at and he's like, holy crap. And he avoids them and everything. And I could go into a long diatribe on energy and how you actually defeat missiles and win a dogfight or something like that. But I'm not going to.
You mean Joni and Chachi?
Yeah, Joni and Chachi. And so he comes up on their 6, finds out they're S.H.I.E.L.D. planes. And at that exact moment, he knows Hand is not Hydra because he is Hydra. And then his actions from that point on until he gets the message, it's very specific because he is still trying to hide in plain sight. And he wants him to go after Hand all the way up to when Coulson nags him on it in the whatever it is, op center or whatever.
Yeah, he's like 3 times. He's like, yo, we got to kill Hand. We got to take her out. I was like, man, he really wants her dead.
Mm-hmm. And the only reason was because he knew with her coming after him that she was not a Hydra agent, because if she was a Hydra agent, she would have known that he was, and vice versa, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think he knew that it was time to come out until they got that out of the shadows into the light message from Hydra. And that allowed everyone to show their true form. And when the planes came after him, I don't think that he was clear on exactly what was going on. I think that maybe someone found out about just him. I didn't think that he thought that she was not Hydra.
Yeah, it could be that way. And it was very interesting when they were in the plane, he takes Ward aside. And regardless of what you think of Ward at this point in time, and if he is or isn't Hydra, he takes him aside and says, yeah, Hand is the clairvoyant. Let your mind spin on that for a bit.
Oh, well, no, I think that when he was talking to Ward, he was talking to him in code. Like, immediately when Ward walked in, he knew Ward was Hydra, and he walked right up to Ward before anybody could say anything and said, hey, we all think that she's, the clairvoyant and that she's Hydra. Just kind of like let him know what is going on where he stepped in.
See, okay, we're just going to have to talk about it. I don't think Ward is Hydra. I think that he was planted there as atonement for his sins with Coulson over shooting the wrong clairvoyant. I think they need intel on the Hydra organization, and he is as good of a person to do that as possible. Now, he's going to have to do some bad things. He's going to have to fit into Hydra, but he hasn't even said Hail Hydra, so I don't think he's a real Hydra agent, personally.
I think he is.
I think he is. I think he has been from the start.
I think one of 2 things is going to happen to him before the end of the season. He's either going to have a change of heart and die saving the team, or Skye is going to be the one to kill him.
Yeah, I agree. The whole thing about him trying to seduce Skye was way over the top cheesy, and to me it felt like he targeted the youngest, most inexperienced person on the team, who he could win over to his side, who has a great deal of value. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't play right for a character like him, who has the experience he does and the background that he does, to suddenly fall for this girl who's got to be 15 years younger than him, but it's easy for him to seduce her, just doesn't play for me.
Why would Coulson allow him to go to Hand's team? He needs every gun he can get. And why was Coulson there in the hallway looking at Ward when he was going onto the transport plane, and Ward turned around and nodded at him? I think it was all like, okay, this is it. You're going off to do it. I
don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I think Victoria Hand is not dead. I think it was staged somehow. I don't know. Could have been the same stuff that Fury used. I have no idea. But the whole thing of Hand trying to execute Garrett in the plane,
she would definitely do that. She's got ice water in her veins.
I don't think that, because what was preventing her from doing it back at the hub?
Coulson wouldn't have allowed it.
Mm-hmm.
But no, when they were getting ready to abandon the bus, Ward was like, yeah, we've got to back up all of this data.
Yeah.
And he's the one that was like, we need to get all this data in one place, one portable place. And then Coulson tells him that, Gravitron, whatever that guy's name is, he's under the fridge. He's in an unmarked cell. So he's giving him all this extra information.
Which, of course, makes him want to go to, It absolutely makes sense to me.
I've been wondering if he got a copy of the backup, or if he just took the backup with him. I don't know.
Well, Skye handed him the flash drive they'd put all the information on.
I did not see that.
She was. She said something along the lines of, "You haven't taught me how to withstand torture yet," and then handed him the drive.
Oh, all right. So he's got the drive with him. Interesting. Another thing, I don't know if Triplet is actually S.H.I.E.L.D. or if he is also Hydra. He might be a further Hydra plant amongst their midst because they want to find out more about the GH325.
No, I feel like he really is S.H.I.E.L.D., especially his reaction when they were taking Garrett away. He was genuinely surprised.
Ward also had a reaction.
Ward's reaction was cold and different.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that Garrett is going to end up being more of a warrior on our team. I'm convinced, and I've said this several times before, Ward is going to be aced. I mean, he's going to be iced by the end of the season. He's going to be the first one to die. And Triplet's going to be the one who's going to be taking his place as the warrior on the team.
Yep.
I think you're right.
I mean, that's basically happening de facto right now, no matter what happens.
It's more of an interesting dynamic. I feel like Ward was the pretty that the network made them put in.
And they decide to get rid of the pretty as soon as they can.
Well, they replace him with equally pretty.
He's got a different look to it.
True. Simmons is all about it.
Yeah, but he's not Triplet, and Ward has like this chiseled features that he's a model. You look at him and like, oh, he's a model. You know,
yeah.
I mean, he has a different, and it's not the first time that the Whedons have done this. They've done this in previous shows before. They did it in Angel, and they've done it in Dollhouse. So it's not the first time they've gotten rid of somebody who they felt was a two-dimensional character.
Yeah, I always thought they were going to get rid of him. I just didn't know he was going to be a turncoat. I still don't think he is, but that's the way they're playing it right now, and that's the way you two think it is, so there you go. We could put shiny quarter bets on this, too, if you want.
I thought we started that last week.
What was the bet about last week? I forget.
It was whether Sitwell was dead, I think. Is that it?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's right. Now he's dead.
I'm going to have to write these down.
Remember, he's pushing up daisies.
Pushing up daisies.
Pining for the fjords.
You know, one of the things I love about this show is that the bus, the CX-D23, keeps on getting better and better. We see the gun turrets this time around.
Was that Star Wars or what?
Oh, totally.
No. Well, I was going to say, that's because Haley here keeps fixing it.
Somebody is going to have to get a broom up in there this time, though.
Oh, no. We're going to have to get the Dyson out and start picking up all that broken glass. We'll have plywood on the windows.
No, we'll just put some trash bags over it. The redneck bus.
Yeah, because both of those hold atmosphere so well up at 30,000 feet.
No, we'll just put a life raft in front of it. It works fine.
Yes, that's right.
That'll do.
Coulson was great when he said, "Booyah!" It's totally him to have that one thing.
There were like three things that made me think of Star Wars. There was the shooting down the drones, and then, they were getting sucked into the hub by having it on remote control. That was like the Millennium Falcon and the Death Star.
Yeah, getting tractored straight to the hub.
Yeah. And then they went down underneath the floors of the bus, and I was like, dude, that's Han's little smuggling holes. Mm-hmm. This entire episode was...
You're right. And we finally figure out where Director Fury and Hill got the little thing to cut through the concrete and the road bed and everything. It's called a mouse hole.
It worked.
And Fitz made it.
Fitz designed it.
Fitz made it. That's right.
Hey, did you guys catch when Simmons actually talks to Weaver on the holodecks, whatever it's called?
Holodeck. Now it's a Star Trek reference.
We're throwing them all in today,
not?
folks. Did you catch when she said, "You know where to find me. Don't trust anyone"? Did you catch the "You know where to find me"?
I don't remember that part.
I caught it, but I didn't know what she was talking about. Everyone's going to reunite in the ice box, freezer, fridge, whatever they call it?
The fridge, which I'm assuming is another acronym.
Yeah. We were talking about this earlier, that the world of Marvel is nothing but acronyms, and we don't know what they all mean.
Tahiti, ICER. We know partially what ICER means, but we don't know the full thing. So Tahiti, ICER, tracks. Those are three off the top of my head.
Brought to you by the letter T. We can start making up our own acronyms.
Oh, cool.
Rummy's an acronym.
Yes, it is. Figure that one out. And you get a shiny new quarter.
Quarter.
Oh, and they had nicknames for everything, too. The treehouse, everything has every one of their layers has a different name. I'll meet you in East Africa or the treehouse. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I had the impression, and I'm not a comic book guru, but I had the impression that all those S.H.I.E.L.D. places were actually in the comics. The Triskelion, the hub, the fridge, the sandbox, the treehouse.
Maybe. I don't know. I haven't read that much yet.
Okay.
You're our go-to.
If it happened before 1969, I can help you out. But beyond that...
You're not that old.
There was only one of us alive in 1969.
What are you saying?
It's not me.
You're saying it wasn't me?
You guys are going, not it, not it. Yes, that would be me, but I wasn't reading comic books at the age of 5. I was 5.
My parents never took me to a comic book store when I was growing up. I feel like cheated out of my childhood or something.
Dude, you could start now.
I think I'll have to.
I think you've been making up for lost time.
I've been trying to.
My digital comic book collection has over 10,000 books in it, so if you want something.
Oh,
holy cow.
Yeah, I need a reader, though, first.
What do you read them on?
Comic Rack is the program I use. I use mostly on my iPad.
That's the thing about iPads that I've got. I still have a Generation 1 iPad, and it's really heavy. But it's great to read magazines and comic books on. And what I love about reading comic books on it is that you could read them panel by panel as opposed to flipping the page. And it's awesome for that. That's how I've read Walking Dead. However, I think they're terrible ebook readers. I
love mine for ebook reading.
See, I think there's way too much reflection. I can't take it outside and read it. And I went out, I ended up buying the most basic Nook, the little basic Nook. Well, one step up. So I bought the other one that has the one that has the light, so I could read at night. And it's awesome. I could go out in direct daylight, and there's no reflection, and it looks just like I'm reading a book. But then if I want to do comic books, I'll do the iPad.
See, I kind of want an iPad Air because, I'm reading at night in bed, and I start to get sleepy, and I drop the iPad on my head, and I was like, man, wish this thing wasn't so heavy.
Well, if I was going to read it in bed, it would probably be my laptop, and my laptop would probably
burn a hole through your lap.
Well, I've got one of those trays, and it has fans on it to distribute the air and stuff.
Which are loud.
So, not this one. It's pretty quiet. Although, in the middle of the night, it has woken me up once or twice, so you might be right about that. When it's on the nightstand or whatever, not when it's on my lap. I don't sleep with the dang thing on my lap. Anyway, I have seen a Kindle Paperwhite, and they are awesome. And but for functionality, I would have to go with the iPad. It's just my 2 cents. I don't have either.
I guess it's just what you want to use it for, mostly. Now, I was so excited. I got the first generation iPad. I was really excited. I had it set up. I'm like, I don't have to have my laptop anymore. And then I tried to use it as a laptop, and you can't because it's not a laptop. I had a Bluetooth keyboard, and it never worked the way I wanted it to work. And then once I decided that the iPad was the iPad and I was going to use it like that, it worked a lot better. Obviously, like I said, magazines, comic books, but now I use it as a giant remote control for my TV. And I do a lot of my reading on the Nook because I can just throw my Nook in my pocket and go.
But can the Nook handle comic books?
Probably not.
Probably not. I think the basic one might be able to do like black and white ones. It just doesn't look the same, but I don't use it for that. I use it for, like I said, I feel like I'm reading a paperback because that's about the size of it. And I could hold it in one hand and just with my thumb turn the page by just hitting a button.
Mm-hmm. Say, I got a question for you guys. At the end of the episode, Coulson is left in charge of the hub by cooperative agreement between Hand and Coulson. It's like, okay, you stay here, you try to salvage what's here. And then in the very next episode, what do we see? We see the bus hightailing it low level in the mountains. I mean, that's not exactly hanging on to the hub right there.
Well, I mean, she's dead. So that makes him in charge of everything now, and I'm sure
She's not dead.
She's dead, Jim.
She's not dead.
Phil Coulson, Director of S.H.I.E.L.D.
She's like Sitwell.
D-E-D, dead.
Dead. D-E-D, dead. Just like Sitwell.
I thought he was pushing up daisies.
He is. Just like Shirley Temple. May she rest in
Come
peace.
on, guys. This is the comics. Anybody can come back
here's
to
the
life.
thing.
Well, it's true.
They've killed so many people and brought them back. They killed Bucky. They brought him back. They brought him
Coulson.
back. They killed Fury. He's not really dead. If they don't keep some people dead, the whole universe is going to have no stakes at all, and you're never going to mourn for someone when they die.
I agree. Someone has to stay dead. I watch.
Totally dead
Not
yet.
dead
I
yet.
watch. I'm getting better. I watched Once Upon a Time, and last week they just killed off a character.
And I was like, oh, she'll
And
be back
I
in
was
3
very
weeks.
surprised because exactly. But they actually killed off and buried a character, and I was like, wow, I guess that character is really dead.
They killed that same character last year.
Yeah, but they didn't bury him.
I know. I don't know why they buried him, because, like, what's he going to do when he comes back? He's going to have to dig himself out like Buffy.
Then it'll be the Walking Dead upon a time.
Once upon a dead time.
Once Upon a Dead Time.
Walking Dead is in hiatus until October.
And have you started watching Turn? I saw the first episode. I think I like it.
Nope.
I haven't seen it yet. Is it good?
I think I like it. It's interesting.
I started watching Vikings.
Oh, how's that?
It's really interesting.
I've watched everything. Where are you in it?
Like halfway through the first season.
Okay. Yeah, it actually gets better in the second season, a lot better. At the end of the first season, I had some trouble with it, but in the middle of the second season, it's phenomenal. I love it. It's great. True Vikings.
What channel is that on?
History Channel, I think.
Of course.
Mhm. It's one of the very few shows that History actually started out on that wasn't a reality-based show and wasn't pure, in your face teaching you history or something about the universe or anything.
Hey, reality-based shows pay my mortgage.
It's kind of like Spartacus with less nudity.
Oh, then why watch it?
Because it's got better plot.
Oh, okay. I wasn't aware that I was supposed to watch Spartacus for the plot.
I still haven't seen that one. It's on my to-watch list. Sean beats me up about it all the time. And talking about Sean and characters staying dead, at the end of... I do another podcast with Sean called Voices of Defiance, and at the end of season 1, they literally kill everybody. But then there's this alien technology that starts bringing people back. And I learned this week, I was doing some research, and one of my favorite characters is actually staying dead. So there are some stakes.
They probably didn't
some of
sign
these shows.
the negotiation contract.
Probably
I mean, that
not.
is a great... Oh, wow. That is a great way for a studio to renegotiate everyone's contract. You kill everyone off, and then you're like, okay, so what is this worth to you? And you renegotiate contracts, and the people who sign on, they get brought back to life in the following season. Wow, that's brilliantly evil.
And then you could still bring them back like 2 or 3 seasons later. It's just like, oh, they were dead. They got better.
Yeah. That is a really brilliant, evil thing for a network to do. And I'm convinced that's the network that did that, yeah.
I've been thinking about this ever since basically the end of the last episode in the movie, is that, where's the show going to go? What are we really talking about? Because I like to see the good guys win. I don't like to see bad guys, totally tear it up. But you have to have some antagonists to make it worthwhile, sort of thing.
Hey, you're such a Boy Scout.
I am. But I'm wondering where the show is going to end up at the end of this season. I know that they've got the next 2 planned out, as they said at the Paleofest, or at least the writer said at Paleofest. But I'm wondering, are they going to leave it at a place where like young kids will want to come back to it next fall?
This reminds me of the quote from Merlin from Excalibur. Good and evil, there's never one without the other. So you can't... I think they're probably going to leave it at a major cliffhanger.
I feel like they're probably going to defeat some big villain this season and then set up the next one to carry through next season.
Yeah. To find out that their big villain this season, which would be the Clairvoyant, is really... the strings are being pulled by somebody even more evil.
I mean, there's Loki. He's still out there.
Loki and the pokey stick.
Well, Ward and Garrett their plane was heading to the fridge, and Coulson told Ward exactly where Gravitron was under the fridge.
Yes, and at the end of the Captain America movie, one of the bumper, the mid-season credit, it did seem to me, anyway, that they were going to unleash whatever terror they could find. So that would make sense. And why put Gravitron in the fridge if you're not going to bring him out at some point in time? Also, the freeze guy. Where is he at anyway? Was he at the S&T technology school or?
I don't remember what they did with him.
I forgot about him.
I remember him being in like in the backseat of an SUV and touching the window and it icing over.
Did they say they were taking him to the treehouse, I think?
I don't remember where they were sending him.
I think it was the treehouse, which is a known loss at the end of this one to Hydra.
Yeah, Hydra's
Time for a rewatch.
Hydra's controlling the treehouse and the East Africa one, and it looked like they were getting control of the academies.
Mm-hmm. Definitely did. So it's a big power grab. We'll see. We'll see. And it looks like we get to see Patton Oswalt next week in Providence. Yay!
I love Patton Oswalt. He's always awesome.
He's the best, ain't he?
Hey, I've got a question out there. Actually, all three of us have a question for our listeners. There is a 7-minute runtime difference between the Captain America 2D and the Captain America 3D. And none of the three of us had time to do the research into it. But what is in those 7 minutes? Is it just extended scenes, or is it, some extra plot thing that we don't get to see at 2D? So if you have any information about that, go ahead and contact us at any one of the means that are possible. And, just go to legendsofshield.com and then you'll see all the contact information. And we would love to hear what you guys have. So do you guys have anything else for this episode?
What's the title of next week's episode?
Providence.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Haley, you got anything else?
I don't have anything.
Really?
Wow.
We've exhausted the Haley?
It's been a rough week.
Yes, it has.
Oh. The one thing that I wanted to bring up really quick was, because I'm reading through all my notes, and there were certain things in there that in the show that I wasn't a big fan of, and just there's certain tropes that were used over and over again that I wasn't really gung-ho about, and one of the biggest ones for me was the cliche of Garrett letting it slip about the woman in the flower dress going through the machine, and he shouldn't know that, and Coulson figuring out that he was lying through it, and that one scene really bugged the hell out of me, because I was just thinking, that's just a tired trope that keeps using, that they use whenever they want to reveal the bad guy.
So if you were writing this particular episode, how would you have done it? Because at some point in time, you have to reveal Garrett as being a Hydra agent.
I don't know, tattoo? I don't know.
Which is also a trope.
Yeah. I don't know. It just felt really tired. I was like, oh, he happens to this one pinnacle moment slip when he's been perfect all the way up until now. Although Garrett is a big storyteller.
Yeah, he is. Now, this show, it airs at the 8 o'clock Eastern time frame. So it's the time slot that the little kiddies are in. So you got to hand it to the kids. It's a delicate balance with a TV show. With a movie, it's both harder and easier because you have a lot of time to plan for it. But they're shooting one of these episodes every week, every 10 days or something like that. So it's very difficult to try to ride that fence between the two. And sometimes you just got to rely on old standbys like this to get the job done.
Well, the other one that I didn't like was and I mentioned this earlier about Ward and Sky and that BS about him seducing her. The thing that really made me roll my eyes was that scene in the closet when he turns to her and he's like, "You're the only one I can talk to." Really? Really? That whole closet scene where you knew she was going to end up grabbing him and kissing him because he was totally telling her everything she wanted to hear. And he knew it. That another reason why I think he's Hydra, and it's just I just found that enormously cheesy.
Yeah.
Parallels the very first time that they were meeting inside the interrogation room on the bus.
Yeah.
Where he faked the truth serum.
No, he didn't fake that. He told her later that he faked it.
Right.
Yeah, but he wasn't faking.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's the whole same thing. How they played the scenes anyway. So I thought it was interesting, as long as we're going through notes, that when Coulson called Garrett a psychopath, that was it was just chilling the way he said that. It was, Coulson's got some issues.
Dying will do that to you.
Thank you for taking the words out of my mouth.
Playing a scene with Loki will do that to you, I guess.
That was my favorite thing from the Paley Fest panel. I would love to be in a scene with Loki. I was in a scene with Loki. Didn't turn out well.
Somehow I suspect it would turn out a little bit differently with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a question. Hand had sent out, like, however many troops she had left at her disposal. Why aren't the ICERs standard issue to their troops at this point?
I don't think they've been mass produced.
They could make 3 helicarriers since the last Avengers movie, and they can't get ICERs into production quickly enough?
Maybe at the Triskelion, but not at the hub.
They were busy making the
The helicarriers.
helicarriers, yeah.
Because this would have been really handy when you don't know who's Hydra and who's S.H.I.E.L.D. to just, ice everyone, put them all in cages and figure it out later.
Well, they didn't know there was going to be a Hydra threat. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And at the beginning, when Coulson is holding May at bay, he's got the real gun. He says at the end of the last episode, this is a real gun with real bullets when he's shooting or staring down May. I noticed later when he asks her to kick the gun over and he picks it up, it's actually a different style of gun. The gun that he's holding on her to begin with is more square Glock-like gun. And then he picks up the ICER gun that she had, and it was a more round type gun, and that's the gun that he shot her with. So his gun was a live gun all the way through.
He had his gun on her. He kept turning his head away from her, and I would not turn my back on May if I didn't know I could trust her.
Yeah, you got to figure out what's going on. And plus, he had Skye as a second gun there, too.
Well, no, this was when Skye went into the other room, and he kept turning to talk to her.
Oh, that's right.
I was like, oh, dude, Get your head in the game.
Well, he eventually does ice her, so.
Or it just could have been really bad direction.
Yeah.
Ooh, I didn't even look to see who directed this. We're going to have to start doing a little bit more homework there.
Oh, yeah. Okay, go ahead. No, never mind. Not important. We'll move on.
Moving on. Well, do you guys have anything else?
No, we're really done this time.
Oh, there's one more thing. No, I'm kidding.
Haley, get the Dyson out. Start vacuuming up.
Why do I have to do it? I always have to do it.
Somebody's got to fly the plane.
Because you're the youngest.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, I do have one more thing.
Bum, bum.
When Garrett
you
made
do.
that stupid pouty face at May, I really wanted her to punch him.
I know, that was great. Was she still cuffed at that point in time?
Like it matters.
Well, it's kind of hard to punch. I mean, she could have kicked him, but she could punch him with her.
She could punch him with both hands.
She could punch him with that cuff. Did you see? It's one big piece of metal between the two wrists.
Yeah, but that takes, your whole body has to swing around, and he has ample opportunity to duck out of the way.
Totally
really,
worth it.
you're talking what could happen on a show that they just had 3 helicarriers on, and
No, the helicarriers
and Garrett,
were on the movie.
We're on the movie, yeah, but it's the same world. And Garrett was drinking coffee out of a mug, puts the mug down in the mug holder, and then proceeds to avoid getting hit by those missiles by turning the plane 360 degrees in midair and not spill the coffee.
He was always pulling positive G's. I actually looked at that whole thing. He was pulling positive G's the whole time, which would keep the coffee in the cup.
But not the coffee inside his stomach.
He's an experienced
been
pilot.
Like,
yeah, okay.
Oh, well.
So do you think it's just a S.H.I.E.L.D. sticker and he's going to peel it off and it's going to be the Hydra logo?
We're going to see a lot of that. As a matter of fact, pay attention to the embedded picture on the MP3 file that goes out with this podcast.
Bum, bum, bum. I did love on the bumpers in and out to commercial. On the last one, it went from the S.H.I.E.L.D. logo to the Hydra logo.
Mm-hmm. And then I saw a picture of next episode, the promo, whatever they call poster for next episode, and it's a combination Hydra S.H.I.E.L.D. emblem.
Bum, bum, bum. That's going to be my go-to. Bum, bum, bum.
I'll have to get a soundboard.
Yeah. We're lucky we get podcasts produced.
Our vocal cords are our soundboards.
Yes, sure. All right. You guys got anything else, or are we really done this time?
Hail Hydra.
I knew it. All right. So join us next week as we talk some Agents of Hydra, Season 1, Episode 18, Providence. You can check us out at legendsofshield.com. Find all our great past shows and our contact information. Don't forget our voicemail line, 612-888-POD0 or 612-888-7690. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Adios.
Thank you for listening. If you want to leave us feedback, go to gonnageek.com and you'll find all of our contact information and other shows. You can also visit legendsofshield.com where you'll find our complete archive of podcasts. The music heard on this podcast is by Kevin MacLeod and can be found at incompetech.com. The opinions heard on this podcast are those of the individual host and do not represent Legends, Stream, or Gonna Geek. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is the property of the Disney Corporation. No infringement is intended.